This module will discuss using assistive technology to enhance communication.
We will begin discussing problems students have who are deaf or hard of hearing with communication. Statistics show that there is a success gap between hearing students and deaf students in public schools. So one might ask, why do hearing students often achieve more in school than students with hearing loss? More importantly, what can be done about this? Well, there are many answers to these questions, and there are also many ways to improve this inequity. It is important to first look at the current situation, identify what problems we have, and then discuss how to help students who are struggling with hearing loss. So let us begin with some statistics. Currently, hearing loss is ranked third in the United States as the most common health issue, just below heart disease and arthritis. In the United States, 2 to 3 of every 1,000 children are born deaf or hard of hearing. Studies have shown that loud music transmitted through earbuds is responsible for approximately 1 in 5 teens incurred hearing loss. For children, a hearing loss can have an enormous negative effect on their speech and language development. A hearing loss can affect a child's self-confidence when interacting with others, as many deaf and hard of hearing children feel isolated because of their inability to communicate and understand their hearing peers. Many deaf and hard of hearing children also struggle academically with reading and math. Research from the American Speech Language Hearing Association indicates that on average, children with a mild to moderate hearing loss who do not receive intervention services are likely to be 1 to 4 grades lower than average hearing children. Those with a more profound hearing loss who do receive services barely pass the 3rd grade. Time and time again, deaf and hard of hearing people have proven to be just as capable as their hearing peers. If so, why is it then that many deaf and hard of hearing children struggle in public school? The biggest reason is for lack of understanding. Unless they have a hearing loss themselves, it is impossible for people to truly understand what it is like to be deaf or hard of hearing. For teachers, many are unaware of how to ensure a student with a hearing loss receives and understands all the information. Without proper experience or knowledge on how to teach a deaf or hard of hearing child, a teacher cannot be expected to be prepared to assist the child properly. Teachers can also make incorrect assumptions regarding the learning abilities, behavior, and comprehension of deaf and hard of hearing students. For students with hearing aids, the teacher may think they may be able to understand me if they have their hearing aids. This, of course, is not true. All a hearing aid does is amplify sound to make it audible, not necessarily intelligible. In some cases, the students are accused of not paying attention or having behavior problems and are wrongly labeled with conditions like ADD or ADHD. Even a teacher's teaching habit can have a troublesome effect on a student's learning. Often, teachers will turn their backs or move around the classroom while speaking. In this case, it is very difficult for the deaf or hard of hearing student to fully understand what is being said without the visual aid of the teacher's lips. Rapid speech pace, soft voices, foreign accents, and oral lectures without printed notes are all common complaints by deaf and hard of hearing students. One of the worst issues for some deaf and hard of hearing students is having a teacher who simply does not take the child's needs into consideration because she feels they already have too many students to worry about. Well, with this in mind, technology tools can help students who are hard of hearing in the following ways. Amplified telephone. An amplified telephone can help you have clearer telephone conversations. Most amplified phones come with built-in amplification and tone control so that you can turn up the volume higher than a traditional phone and adjust the frequency of the caller's voice to better fit your hearing. The most important factor in choosing an amplified phone is determining how much amplification you need. Since hearing loss can be degenerative, it may be good to get a phone with higher amplification, as you can always turn the volume down. Alerting devices. Alerting devices are notification devices designed to alert everyone, deaf, hard of hearing, and the hearing population, about different events such as phone calls, baby cries, smoke carbon monoxide alarms, and so on. Hearing as well as deaf and hard of hearing individuals can benefit from the flashing lights, loud alarms, or vibration alarms. TTY. TTY is an abbreviation for teletypewriter, also known as text telephone or a telecommunication device for the deaf, TDD. This device allows people who are deaf, speech impaired, or hard of hearing to type messages to anyone else who has a TTY using a telephone line. Relay service or video relay. A relay service, also sometimes known as a video interpreting service, is a video telecommunication service that allows deaf, hard of hearing, and speech impaired individuals to communicate over video telephones and similar technologies with hearing people in real time via a sign language interpreter. For those students with profound hearing loss who rely on ASL, it is essential that an interpreter and ideally a note taker are present at all times to ensure that the student understands what the teacher is saying and receives the information in printed form. For students wearing hearing aids, it may be necessary for their teacher to wear an FM system. Teachers must keep in mind that other noises around them may be amplified as well, and a clear, projective voice is still essential. It is important for the teacher to reiterate all the questions and answers discussed during the class, as the FM system prevents the hard of hearing system from hearing the additional information shared by his or her classmates. Closed captioning is vital for deaf and hard of hearing students so that they may follow along and understand videos that teachers may use in their lessons. Printed notes are also necessary because it is extremely difficult for these students to focus on what the teacher is saying while writing information at the same time. Extended time on tests should also be required for certain classes like reading and math, where deaf and hard of hearing students tend to have more difficulties understanding and processing information. Group work is also a beneficial teaching strategy because it not only encourages students who may be more insecure about their hearing loss or speech to socialize with their hearing peers. This also allows the other students to become more familiar and comfortable when interacting with children who are deaf or hard of hearing. Lastly, parents play an important role for advocating for their child's needs because many children find it difficult and intimidating explaining certain issues to their teachers. Even if a child wears hearing aids or cochlear implants, federal law allows parents and deaf and hard of hearing children the right to advocate for efficient devices. This includes teachers changing or modifying certain teaching methods and or classroom settings. No matter how severe a hearing loss may be, every child deserves the right to perform to the best of their abilities. All these children need are the proper accommodations and support from their families and teachers. By looking back at the issues regarding deaf and hard of hearing students, mainstream and public schools, we now can focus on solutions to help these students succeed, hopefully with the accommodations and support mentioned previously. Future generations of deaf and hard of hearing children will have an equal opportunity to succeed and achieve academic excellence.